Hello, comrades. Today we have a very interesting topic in our opinion because we're gonna talk about the Chinese league, how the football was actually being developed and how it went in land of China.
And plot twist, it didn't end well.
And what are the lessons for Arabian super leagues and all of that stuff.
So before we get into the video, we are still on lookout for our first 100 subscribers, and we're getting there. Hopefully, well, by the summers we're gonna get there.
Maybe.
So yeah, just please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share, give us our comments, and also ideas for the future videos. So now let's get into it actually. So history of Chinese football.
Yeah, but we're not gonna talk about prehistoric times when the Chinese were playing not exactly
resembling football.
Something resembling, yeah, the current football. No, let's just focus what has started in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, football didn't technically start in the 80s in China. It started way earlier. They were playing it, and they are actually huge fans of it. But the idea is that, I guess, under Mao and then under later chairmans, professionalism was not looked nicely.
Yeah, it was kinda how to say it, opposite of the
values of China,
China and all of these revolutions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why even when they formed their first league in the 80s, it was still semi-professional to even amateur level at the start of it. And then it later turned more modern. Then we started in the 90s getting first foreign players into the Chinese league and all of these things.
Yeah, at first fully professional players, because time has changed. The USSR was no more.
Yeah,
and the Berlin Wall has fallen, and so the Chinese get some changes and amendments.
They put some XP into adaptability and they did it well, to be honest. Let's not kid ourselves. At one moment in history, and probably in 20 minutes of your time and probably 3 hours of our time, you will see the football boom that has happened in China. And yeah, I mean, legitimately they were taking players off from the richest clubs in the world at that point.
Yeah, because lots of money was there.
Yeah, and there to be spent. But let's not get us ahead of ourselves. Let's first start with the humble beginnings of the Jia League.
Jia League, sponsored first by Marlboro.
Yeah, and that's one badass logo at the start of that. And they were paying very mediocre money, something around million and a half per season.
How much it was? Just 1 million, $1.2 million.
Yeah, and that's a decent start, because let's say it's still 90s. And in 90s, you could buy a lot of things with 1 million. But even the bigger revolution came with the second sponsorship deal they had with Pepsi.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I when I thought first about the money they spent, they were spending more than 10 million.
Yeah, per season.
Per season.
I mean, that's ridiculously low comparing today's money. But with the circumstances of that being 90s and that being a league that's barely been professional for several years, that's huge amount of money to invest in it. But it kind of paid off. They got some decent players, they got some exposure. They at that point wanted to invest a lot in coaches. So they brought in some big names, and I mean, as someone who's from Balkans, I know a lot of it because a lot of the first foreign coaches and players actually were from Balkans, like were mostly like from Serbia or like Croatia, some of you from Bosnia.
Like ex-Yugoslavia countries.
Yeah, ex-Yugoslavia countries, because like Slobodan Santrac, he was like the coach of Yugoslav national team. He was coaching in China. Ljubiša Tumbaković, who was in the 90s also coaching the team I support, like Partizan. He was in China for a long time, and they had their first World Cup by Bora Milutinovic, also a guy from Serbia.
Exactly, and also because the two best countries were the hosts, so they were actually there, and it was way easier for China to qualify for the first and still for the last time.
Yeah, and that was like kind of a silver lining for like Chinese football, and it was like a sign, okay, we could get something with this.
Exactly, but this still won't happen. Like someone else could still qualify because Korea and Japan were the hosts. If China won't invest first in the trainings, in the coaches.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like you said, they knew if they would even have good players like in the league, but like transferred into the league, their players will still be far from
that level.
Behind of them, and this won't grant them the perks they needed still.
And that's actually one of the mistakes they're gonna repeat like 10 years from that moment. But at this moment it gave them like a great boost, and it was seen like as a good way to promote China to world audience, and something like unimaginable in like 80s or the 90s happened in like the early 2000s. Like China had a Chinese guy playing in the Premier League. It was Sun Jihai, and he was playing for Manchester City for like 6 years, and then 1 year in Sheffield United.
Okay.
So yeah, that was like a breakthrough thing, because again, let's talk about like the elephant in the room. Chinese love football,
of course,
but the elephant in the room is that because their leagues haven't been there around for a long time, they don't have a passionate fan base of their teams. So like when you talk with people, they love football, but they watch Premier League. They watch big teams. They watch like Barcelona. They watch Real. There's no like that idea of like home turf like support.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm from like Dalian. And I'm a diehard Dalian fan. I might go to the games, but I'm like supporting Manchester United, or I'm supporting any European club which has a Chinese player. For example, like I bet a lot of people like a few years ago were watching Espanyol games because
one of them was there.
Yeah, exactly. Like Voulet was playing in Espanyol for like several years.
Yeah, and that's one point. And the second point is that these big clubs like Real Madrid, like all of them, are also taking advantage of it, because it's still a country that has more than 1 billion people.
Yeah, it's for vast like majority of like existence of this planet. That was the most populated country. Like,
and still is. Like
I thought India is now.
Yeah, because India can be the first one. And every time when you have this like pause between like seasons, you see like all of these like tours of like Manchester City, Real Madrid, and they are going bananas.
Of course,
because
like Chinese love football, but still they don't have this like culture of supporting their own. So that was also like an idea behind all of this. And like let's say attendances, even this like semi-professional to professional at later stages like Gia League, they were decent. Like above 10,000 people per match, and for some like teams it was way bigger, because let's say like not everybody had like big stadiums.
Yeah, and also that much time. because they were mostly just working.
Welcome to the rice fields, mother.
Let's not still forget that their main focus was still working on their like economics and trying to improve everything way better, because China from 30 years ago and China today, they are like completely two different countries.
Yeah, they're not the same country, and the same thing can be said about, let's say, Japan in like freaking like 50s, and then like in the 80s, like the jump was made, and the jump for Chinese can be even bigger because of the idea that they are bigger. they have like way more people and way more resources and way more everything than Japan,
and way different approach to achieve the wealth. You know, like Chinese weren't selling like Toyotas, they were selling like cheap things.
Yeah, and then those cheap things like became all over the world. Well, until Trump's tariffs.
Yeah, but that's
a different topic.
That's a different story. Yeah.
But in general, I mean, the signs and everything was very promising, and also like, let's say, the government also saw that it was promising. Like the league was getting better and better, like the coaching got better and better, and they decided to form a new league that would be like way more professional, with higher like levels of like crowds, like bigger stadiums. They were literally trying to capitalize on the idea that they qualified for the first World Cup, and that was like celebrated by millions of people on the streets, like literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, in 2004, Chinese Super League was born.
Yeah, the Super League before Super League.
Yeah, like we have Super League at home. So yeah, like Chinese Super League started modestly still. Like all of the teams had now like a lot of foreign players, but there were still like there were still limitations on how many foreign players could be like per club.
Yeah.
But, and let's say vast majority of them were like from Eastern Europe or like Africa. Maybe like few spare Brazilians came, like Ratinho.
Yeah, and that's like first big star, I think.
Not that one.
That one, okay.
But yeah, like standout star of Chinese league was Kwame Ayu, and he's the brother of Abedi Pele. Well, if you're more than 50 years old, you know him from Olympique Marseille, like the glory days of Olympique Marseille.
The best days.
And if you're under 20, you know him as a hero card in FIFA. Yeah. And he's good, like decent. The start, like I said, was promising, but there were some issues.
Yeah, like maybe some of you have thought that not everything was like flowers and rainbows and sunshine. Like the first season had just 12 teams, and there were many controversies being connected to like match fixing and selling everything, and also the thing about the system was that only last team was
Getting relegated.
Yeah, getting relegated, and two were going up because some of like wealthy people said, hey, maybe I can be there too, and they were wealthy just enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes. Because let's speak of second elephant in the room, and that elephant in the room is
communism.
No. This elephant in the room is gambling. Because we said Chinese love football, but what else Chinese like? Gambling.
Yeah.
And what is illegal in China?
Gambling.
Exactly. So that will
it's
give you
not illegal if the stream goes from outside of China, and I know it.
It's
from
not
trusted
illegal
source.
also in like Macau and in some like designated areas, let's say like
Also
the Las Vegas of China.
Of China, yeah.
But what is legal is different from what's being done. So that's why when you look at some like Premier League matches, you see like shirt sponsor being something that you have never freaking heard in your life.
Yeah, and you don't even know how to spell it.
Or
because
find
it's in
it.
China.
Exactly. Because these are like freaking like gambling websites that are for Chinese audience, because we were talking like Chinese people love football, Chinese people love gambling. So what's the best idea how to promote it?
And they are
put
fans.
it on a shirt of some Premier League club.
And on the edges of the pitch.
Yeah, of everything, like
on
in
this, like,
every way. So that brought a lot of also unwanted attention, like teams getting suspended, like players getting suspended, matches being abandoned because of referees, like
Suddenly like -6 points here, plus 16 points there, and
everything was happening.
yeah, like whole season was mostly dependent and ended up on the like green table, as we are saying, not on the pitch.
Yeah, and that was just the start of it.
Yeah.
Let's say the things weren't improving much in the seasons to come. Same as like with the national football team, like they had their peak in 2002.
Yeah, but they didn't even score a goal.
Yeah, but okay, it's their first time, so okay, I'll allow it. But they in reality didn't come close even up to now. So we can speed up a little bit. Let's move until one of the big events of the Chinese history, and that is naming of the new chairman. So to summarize what happened from the first CSL season to the new chairman, well, mostly the same things, like attendances were 10 to 15,000 people, players were mostly like from Eastern Europe, like ex-Yugoslavia, and like Brazilians, some African players. No huge names, let's say, like only like maybe older people, like Olisa Debe, who was like you as Polish guy, you know him perfectly well.
National hero.
Yeah, like he's a national hero for you guys. And yeah, still ramping corruption. For example, in 2009, two mid-table teams, Chengdu and Guangzhou, and I'm sorry for my pronunciation, they were relegated because they were found to be fixing matches, and just like you're out.
Yeah, that was happening all the time.
Yeah. So let's now move on to 2012.
Yeah, because in 2012 we have a new first secretary which is still there, and it's Xi Jinping. If I'm saying it still correctly,
yeah.
also. So first, what we can say about Xi Jinping is that he at the very start had big plans for China, but long-term plans. We are not talking like, okay, like 5 years we're gonna be like superpower. No, in China it is always like 100 years, so something like that. Like there is this story also about like French diplomats asking like the Chinese when this whole like revolution started, like the French guys were saying like, you know about the consequences of like our revolution, like take some advantage of this blah blah blah, and the Chinese were like, but it happened like 200 years ago, it's not enough time still to summarize it. And that's the level of like the Chinese thinking about the country, you know, about the history, because their country is on this planet for thousands of years, so like 100 years or like 50, 80 years, it's nothing.
It's like a drop in the ocean.
Exactly, and Xi Jinping also knows that, and he said that one of his like main plans is to get China win a World Cup maximum till 2050, and
That's like a 40-year span.
exactly, yeah. So and the plan was to one day win the World Cup and also like to be a host, which they tried.
That they might get, but
Yeah.
then winning, I don't see it. Like regardless of what's happening, regardless of how popular it is, and we'll come into these reasons a bit later.
A bit later, yeah, and soon enough, of course, he had big plans for like every other single topic, but we are here to talk only about football, so let's focus on that. Soon after his like first speeches, first like showing up in CCTV, which is their like public station, everyone realized that it wasn't only saying. It very quickly became reality. Like lots of money started being pumped there into everything because this plan, if you want to be good at football, you need lots of money to invest, and the thing is like this money ain't going back very soon.
Yeah, and in general, the Chinese had an idea that they want to like make use of football in idea of like sports washing, the same as like Saudi Arabia is doing right now.
Yeah.
But also in the idea of actually trying to be good at it. So it not only came like with the idea of importing players, importing coaches, they even went a level up where like the rich like Chinese like businessmen were giving some tax breaks in case they invest in football, and they weren't just investing in football in China, they were buying up clubs in Europe. Like they bought Milan, they bought Inter, they bought Wolverhampton, they bought a lot of like smaller clubs, and the idea of that was they wanted to actually see from their perspective how is actually football working,
how it's done, like buying also like the know-how and also creating some future chains. You know, if you are an owner of like 3 clubs where most of the people know like one club, like you said Wolverhampton, and maybe you have some like lower tier clubs. If you
Manchester City were looking at you.
And when you get someone good from these like lower clubs, you can like take him for free to this better club
Again,
and
like Manchester City we're looking at you.
yeah, we see that. Maybe not UEFA fair play, but normal people do. Also, like the thing was, if someone would be good enough, maybe he would like to play in China later.
Yeah, because not only they were buying clubs, they were making Chinese clubs like rich, like all of a sudden. Some people like can imagine in today's football like 50 million not being much, but inflation in recent years in football prices is freaking huge. Like the idea that Chinese club, their biggest transfer was I think like 60 million.
60, yeah.
And that is a lot of money. At certain point they made a really, I won't say mediocre because he wasn't like mediocre player, but he wasn't anything special like Cuenca. They made him like second, third most paid player in the world at that time.
Yeah, just because they could.
Yeah, but that's also idea. Like you are going to China. I guess you're South American, you're European. They need to pay you extra because you're not only going there to play football, you're going there also to promote, like you said, but you're also, let's say, saying goodbye to your way of life. You're going into a different country, different culture, and Chinese understood it very well, so they paid over the price.
Yeah, because money was the only argument.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the similar thing that now Saudi is doing with their league. And that's what you
course.
said, like learn from the mistakes of the Chinese league. And they kind of made a lot of mistakes in this like area, because they paid Carlos Tevez like,
For example.
yeah, like Carlos Tevez went on a like 50 million like vacation
per hour.
he went on a 50 million vacation to China.
Yeah.
And it's not even close to the prime like Tevez. You're getting a Tevez that's not even like a Wolverhampton like Tevez anymore. He was more injured, and he wasn't like, he didn't give enough. But they were just paying over the margin, because they, first of all, they could, and that's how they were like able to bring in the players. Like Atletico paid a lot of money for Martinez to buy him from Porto. He flopped at Atletico, and I think like the Atletico was the happiest club in the world when they got an offer from China. So they like at least returned that money that they paid for Porto.
Money for nothing.
Literally that. I mean, let's say some of these players were top tier, and some of them were even in the best years. For example, Oscar.
Yeah. Also my first thought. They bought him for 65 million.
And that's a lot of money. And he was in the best years. He was playing for Chelsea, he was playing for Brazilian national team, and he was playing good. It's not that he was injured. It's not like the Neymar scenario from Saudi Pro League.
Yeah.
It's like a whole different animal.
Yeah, and also in World Cup in Brazil, like after Neymar, Oscar was the best player.
Yeah, he was playing really good. They brought in also some like really good players. For example,
Hulk.
yeah, also like he was awesome in both Zenit and Porto.
He was dragging Zenit through the Champions League still.
Yeah, and one of my favorite cards from FIFA 20.
Because he's big.
Yeah, big and strong, and what the hell you need more? But
For a
yeah.
striker.
Yeah, but like for me, one of the first players that come into my mind is like Teixeira, because he was playing in Shakhtar,
Yeah.
and everyone was saying like, oh, he's going to Liverpool. Like he was mates with Coutinho. He was giving interviews. Oh, Liverpool is a big club. I want to play there. All of these things.
Yeah.
What happened? Few months later, bam, gone to China.
Yeah, and for lots of fans, everyone who was going there back in that times, they were like forgotten.
Mostly, let's say. I mean, some people came there at the ends of their careers.
Also that, but also lots of people were actually saying, because it was actually first time in football history that we saw that amount of money being put for just one player.
All of a sudden, and that's even because like we're talking about a league
Yeah.
who were selling people for like 1 million, 2 millions, and then all of a sudden they start throwing money literally all around the world, and they became like the third like richest league when you come up like the like salaries and stuff, and that's insanity. But in all honesty, it did raise a level. It kinda did make some difference, because for example we said like Voulay, he managed to go to La Liga, and in all of these years in between there wasn't a Chinese player who made an impact in one of the top 5 leagues in the world. I mean, not that Voulay was moving the world around, but he was playing and he was getting minutes, and he was in the first Spanish league for like 4 years,
And he was getting them more views. You know?
exactly, and now he is the top scorer of Chinese league of all time.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, and they even managed to sell a player for more than 40 million, like Paulinho to Barcelona when they brought him back to Europe. So like I said, some were forgotten, like Hulk, he just like disappeared, he went to Brazil, like a lot of players.
Yeah. But for some it was like a trampoline actually, because Paulinho was actually even playing in ŁKS Łódź.
Yeah, that's that's something
And later,
something needs to be said.
yeah, and thank you. Thank you that you have said it. Actually, yeah. Later he played in World Cup in 2014 in Brazil also. So yeah, that
And
helped.
also Marko Arnautovic, like he was also one of the big players. Like
Yeah.
he's now in Inter for fuck's sake. You know, like
And
he
he
was
was
struggling in West Ham, then he went to China and
For
okay,
just 27 million.
just but that also comes now to the second part of this. Like we are talking about like burning money at this point, but the chairman has also seen it. Like he saw that it kinda wasn't worth it. Like he saw, okay, too much money was being spent and we're not getting the results that we want.
Yeah.
It's not improving. So like it started lightly. He started capping like the
Salaries.
amount of salaries, and then like all of the transfers. Like he put he was Trump before Trump. Like he put like a literally like a fee that you needed to double the amount
And
of the
taxes.
transfer on taxes that were going to like the development of the youth football in China, like let's say the grassroots, like the idea of it, and that kind of destimulated people to actually spend big amount. And when COVID hit, that's the third elephant in the room.
Yeah, and that was the turning point to the worst. Yeah, so we talked a lot about the years of spending and mostly burning money, and first consequences of it came very early, and everything has changed after 2019. Like the end of the previous decade was ending with a bang, with a plague actually called COVID, which was very similar to SARS that happened like 15 years, a bit more before, but wasn't spreading with that speed back in those days. Yeah, but the first thing that I want to say about this whole like COVID shit happening all around the world was that China is still, and of course still will be, a very closed country. You know, they are not letting everyone else like from outside, especially of course United States.
Yeah, it's like West Virginia.
Yeah, they won't tell anyone about anything bad happening there because it's still like communist country, and they care about what others think and talk about them. It's like a very similar situation to when Chernobyl happened, and like USSR hiding this news for as long as they could.
Yeah, and there's a freaking mushroom in the sky.
From the public. Yeah, and it was actually like Sweden and Austria asking first, like, why the radiation is so high. Like, what happened? Like, did you test a bomb there? Like anything?
Why did I wake up with a third arm?
Like why suddenly we have acid rains in Vienna? Stuff like that. And same thing was happening also here. Like everyone knew something is going on, and like WHO and other like health organizations and also like neighboring countries were starting asking more serious questions, like, guys, what is happening? Like, do you know something? Like, tell us. It's
spreading.
It's spreading, and we see this even here because like also end of Chinese year was coming. So, and it was year of a rat.
And that was kinda telling what is gonna happen.
Yeah, people were suspecting things, and actually it was good. But like lots of Chinese people were going outside of the country and
Spreading the plague.
and spreading the plague all over the world because they were going to the family, not family there also it went like both ways, and of course it had a big impact on this whole league, China Super League. And because you had many players from outside, from foreign countries playing there, and they haven't seen their families for years.
Yeah. Like, especially like imagine playing in like the hive of it, like in Wuhan. They had a team in like the Super League at that point.
It was one.
Yeah, and I mean there still is to this point. Okay, now
Wuhan is a big city.
yeah, and that was like that kind of killed it, and it also killed it economically because like the COVID caused a stagnation of let's say working. So you have Evergrande Group was like the biggest like developer of like properties in like entire China.
Yeah, and owners.
Yeah, they were owners of the biggest freaking club in China.
Mm-hmm.
And when it went down, well, also the club went down with it.
Of course.
Like the
Guangzhou Evergrande.
yeah, like also Suning was the owner of the club. They won the last title and they just like went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're not a club anymore. Like we're dissolved. You're all free to go. And yeah, that's what happened. Like things came crashing, and they are just kind of now resetting there. Like now audiences are allowed in stadiums again.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some teams like Beijing now has like average attendance of more than 40,000 people like in 2025.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
But now the profile of the players is nowhere near
Of
what it was.
Yeah, because even in 2013, like David Beckham was like a promotion star, not the player, but like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Like saying,
I mean,
hey guys.
like I was saying, like in that like segment previously, they were like taking players of the wealthiest clubs. They just took Oscar and yoinked it from Chelsea. Like they took Teixeira, who was bound to go to Liverpool, and just took him. Like you have Costa, who was telling Chelsea, yo, sell me, I want to go to China.
Yeah, they were saying it like very pretty much straightforward.
Yeah.
Straightforward, yeah, but soon after that they realized what they did. It's not all about the money, because like I said, they haven't seen their families, their wives, their kids. Like some of the players saw their kid first time when the kid was like 3 years old. And soon after that they were all started running from there. Like after 2-3 years they've earned millions of dollars and euros and etc. And like the COVID was the biggest chance to just
that was
run.
the final straw. Like literally that was the final straw.
And lots of players were terminating the contracts.
Yeah, like most of them went back to China, like some of them went to Saudi League, and few of them managed to go back to playing on high level. For example, Witsel, he went to Atletico Madrid.
Axel, yeah.
Yeah, like Arnautovic went first to Bologna, I think. And yeah, I mean, so for some it ended well, for some it ended not so well. But when you look at the rosters now, they're kind of back to 2007-8.
Yeah,
like that idea of like
Chinese players.
Yeah, and like all of the foreign players are, lots of them like are Brazilians, but not like the well-known Brazilians. Like one of the best like strikers last year was like a guy named Kryzan. Like the only reason I knew about this guy even before recording this video was that his Evo in the last FIFA was so crazy. and I made a lot of people cry with him. Like that card was broken.
What's his like position and
Striker.
Okay.
Like he's a silver card, but at the end of the game there was like some weird evo that just boosted him like way up, and that's like wow. That is like the only reason I know about this player, but he didn't have some like spectacular career. He didn't play for any big clubs anywhere, so now we're returning to that level. You have some like good players, but they're not well-known names. Like they're not like your Paulinhos, your Tevezes, your
Oscar.
all of these players. And I mean, we talked a lot about like the controversies and all of it, and unfortunately we have to end this video, you know, on a tragic note, and there was again like some controversy in this season because a player from Gabon, like Aaron Bumpenza, he fell from the 11th floor, he died, and the club decided that it's fine to play a game on that day. Literally on the day that he died, they decided it's okay to play the game.
Yeah.
So all the foreign players from that club like decided they don't want to play, like fuck this shit. And even the fans in the stadium were lighting up their phones and just like chanting Bupensa like entire freaking match,
showing some
support,
respect.
Yeah. Like
at least
unlike
that.
the club, and that's like
At least that, because like you know, it's a way different society and way different culture, way of thinking.
we can't even comprehend it. Like this, it goes like the both ways. Like it's something that's not even to be discussed, because we will never know the ins and outs of that.
Yeah, people were expecting way more because lots of money was there, like all of the big stars for Chinese people that knew these players were there in their cities, in their country. And with all of that came hope for prosperity, for big days, for like glory matches for China national team, because Chinese societies think more of like a group, not by a individual. Yeah, it's that type of a culture, and yet nothing happened still. And
yeah, I mean, they, in my opinion, they started spending way too fast, way too much, and they cut it way too soon, because I mean, what do you expect to happen in like 3 years of big spending?
Even
because
5.
they were starting to like turn off the faucet like after 3-4 seasons. Like it already like tax for this, limitation of that.
Yeah, and the cash flow even, just like you said,
Yeah.
that if you spend like 5 million, you need to give
5 more million
5 more
to this.
yeah.
And they also like just overnight they sold all of the European clubs, because that's when you see like again, like China is a closed society. Still most of the decisions are made on high level, and then
Government level.
and then like the government said, okay, we don't see this being worth this money, we're cutting off this project. Like it's literally like they Elon Musked the football like over the night. Like they took a chainsaw to it and just like So yeah, like as we seen also, like America is not doing it correctly now, and China didn't do it correctly with football now. And I think this is the lesson that Saudi League is kind of learning from. They're not buying over-the-hill players like Tevez, for example. They're focusing on, okay, if they are over the hills, they are big brands like Cristiano Ronaldo, like Neymar. Man, Neymar didn't even play in Saudi League for these 2 years, but he was still worth because of the exposure and because of all of these things.
And the sport washing.
Yeah. and also they're bringing in players who are maybe not top superstars, but they're in their good years, like Ruben Neves, for example, like Sergej Milinkovic Savic, like Kante, who is still like, we saw it like in the World Cup, like that guy was running the show for France, man. Like regardless,
If someone is good, he'll be good.
Yeah, like 2/3 of the world is covered by water, the rest of it is covered by Kante.
By Kante, exactly.
Yeah. Like he's just top tier, and that's it.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is not about Kante. This is not about China. This is about China.
This is about China. This isn't about Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
Or like.
Yeah, I'm going off my last brain cell, and yeah, I'm currently working on caffeine at this point.
Just like me. I think we have covered most of the like main argument what was happening and what are the lessons for anyone next who would like to have big plans just like Xi Jinping about winning the World Cup one day.
And Xi Jinping, please don't send John Cena at our house.
Yeah, that would be nice if we would still see him only on like TV screens.
Yeah. That's enough.
Yeah, that's like totally
We
enough.
don't have anything against him, just
Yeah. We're the
cool,
good
we
guys.
cool, we cool.
Yeah, like we are friends. So guys, leave us like a comment, share your thoughts about possible future for Chinese league. Maybe we gonna see China when the World Cup teams will expand. Maybe we'll see like 60 teams later. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know with FIFA.
Exactly, and yeah, we could also talk a lot about FIFA doing nothing about this spending because like in Europe we have this like FIFA, like UEFA fair play, everything, but when it comes to the riches, it's like okay, it's like nothing, like it doesn't even exist, and
yeah,
we saw that.
We're gonna take off points of Everton.
and make Legia pay like 2 million.
Yeah, but that's how the world kinda works. Like it's not just sports. Like you saw now, like Mbappe almost broke a leg of the guy playing for Alaves. He got 1 game suspension.
Just 1 game, and
if it was
did
yes,
whatever that means, and he got
3 games, I think.
3 games. I think even more, and like Legia should have paid like 200k euros because something like.
Yeah, but that's the world, unfortunately. So yeah, so guys, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and share with us your ideas. What exotic league would you like us to cover? And yeah, in general, some ideas are always welcome.